So today what I have planned for us is some ginger forbidden black rice with some Thai chicken. So there's a lot of crossover kind of between different cuisines, right? So the ginger forbidden rice might be a little more Indian. The Thai chicken is a little more Thai, but there's definite crossover there. And I really wanted to introduce everybody to the forbidden rice. And I'll give you a little history about the forbidden rice a little later. And we'll talk about all the health benefits of the forbidden rice a little later, but I want to get started. So a little background about me before I get started. I am a 6-year breast cancer survivor. My previous life, I was a chef way back in the day, pre-children, had children. That changed your life as it does everybody else's. And I kind of moved on into the fitness field, and that's where I've been ever since my children got to the age where I could actually go out and work. So let's get started. With any type of rice, okay, you want to soak it. You don't kind of want to soak it, you want to soak it. So there's arsenic in the dirt where grass and in the water where grass is grown. So you can rinse it, soak it. I tend to soak mine a little more as opposed to rinsing it. So prior to doing this, I just put my cup of rice into some water. It's been soaking. I might scoot out a little. I'm going to see if my long arms will reach over to my sink. And now I'm just going to drain it. So I'm going to put it into my little colander. Then I'm going to let my colander kind of just rest over the bowl. So the last of the water drains out of it. And then I'm going to put it to the side. So I'm starting with my rice because the rice takes about an hour to cook. You can do this in an Instant Pot, or if you have a rice cooker that's going to speed up the process, then go for it. I'm kind of old school. I kind of like to do things on the stovetop. So definitely take the shortcut if that's kind of your thing. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is kind of get my pot ready and get everything else ready that's going to go into the forbidden rice. So I have one shallot here, and I'm going to slice the shallot. Get all the skins off to the side here. And I'm just going to slice it into some nice slivers. I'm going to peel off the skin. Little half moons. There's a lot you can do with this rice, which I'll get into a little later. But the shallot is going to add a little flavor to this. Oops, they want to stick to me. So do that, move it over to the side. So I say one shallot. A lot of times shallots will come like 2 bulbs in one kind of pod, if that's what you want to call it. So I just find one shallot, and if it breaks into 2 pieces, I use all of it. Okay, here we go. So it's peeled. I'm just going to slice it up, slide this out of the way. So I'm just going to slice it into little rounds, nice and thin. Little pieces. And this recipe is for 4. So if you have more than 4 people, you can double this recipe very easily. There's only 2 of us here, so I'm going with the serving for 4. Serving of 4 is 1 cup. So I've soaked 1 cup of rice or rinsed 1 cup of rice with water. The next thing I'm going to do is my ginger. So today I'm using fresh ginger. A lot of you know that a lot of times I use the frozen ginger already minced. Today I'm using fresh ginger only because I have it and I had it for another recipe. And I try to go through my ingredients or things that I have in my kitchen and my refrigerator and use them up. So I'm going to use about 1 tablespoon of peeled ginger, and I'm going to eye it. So I'm just going to cut like a piece. It's probably about an inch thick, which to me is about a tablespoon of ginger. And I'm going to peel it. And you have a couple of ways of dealing with this ginger. Okay, I think in the past I've shown you guys kind of how to chop and mince it. So I'm going to do both options. Obviously, there's a little more involved in the chopping part of it. The other way to do it is to grate it. So I'm going to do 1 and 1. And all I'm going to do is slice one little kind of like sliver of ginger. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to smash the ginger with the back of my knife. And it'll start to break up into little pieces, kind of like you would do garlic. And then I'm just going to kind of run my knife, make sure everything's kind of all chopped. As I did that, all my skins jumped off my plate. It's okay, we'll be a little messy. The other option is just to take a grater or a microplane. I like a microplane, it's just a little easier to use. And if you have a grater, a box grater, or a cheese grater, you can use that. This is just gonna make it just like nice and fine. You just kind of run it along here. It's a little quicker, so if your knife skills aren't the greatest, this is a really good option. So I'm grating it. Nothing's falling out because it's sticking to the back of the microplane, but you'll see it as I scrape it out. Ginger tends to have like a lot of like stringiness to it, so I'm kind of turning it here and there to kind of break that up. And I'm watching my fingers. You don't want to grate it to the point where you're grating the skin off of your finger. So that's about it for me. So all of it is in the center of my microplane. I'm just going to scoot it out with my finger, rub it down, like push it down. And then go backwards against the grain or the grate on here. And I have my ginger. So pretty quick and easy, right? All right, the next thing we're gonna do is start to saute this. So we're using ghee. So ghee is clarified butter. So if you haven't used ghee before, all ghee is what clarified butter means is that they take the cream element out of it. So you would essentially take a stick of butter, right, and set it over the cooktop on a really, 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 really low flame. And you would let it melt. And then all the cream fat would rise, the cream would rise to the top. And then you skim that out and then you're left with clarified butter, right? Just kind of like the oil of the butter and taking the cream out. So I get mine at Trader Joe's. It's pretty inexpensive. So I'm just going to give it a good shake. This is a new bottle of clarified butter, so I get to take the top off. And I'm going to take about a tablespoon of this clarified butter. And I'm going to put it in my pan. And then I'm going to heat it up. And you'll see it'll start to melt. And when it starts to melt, it really takes on the look of an oil. So I'm going to do this on low to medium. All right. I'm going to put my glasses on now so I can see. I'm being really vain these days. I don't want to have my glasses on. So, all right. So I'm heating the ghee or ghee, pronounced two different ways. If you're American like me, I say ghee, otherwise it's ghee. So I'm going to pull it over. So if you look at it, I don't know if you can see in the pan, it's pretty clear, right? In the bottle, it tends to solidify a little bit and it doesn't look like it'll be clear, but it is clear. So now all I'm going to do is take my shallots. I'm going to put my shallots in there. They'll start to sizzle. All right. I'm going to add my ginger. Oops. And then I'm just going to stir this. I'll turn it up to more of a medium heat until my shallots start to caramelize just slightly. So it'll be a few minutes. And then the ginger is going to tend to kind of like clump together. So you're just going to keep stirring and it'll start to kind of break apart there. So keep stirring, stirring, stirring. And adjust my heat just slightly. And it smells really good. I will say if you're using the frozen ginger, you don't want to throw it in with the shallots. I would say cook the shallots 2/3 of the way through and then add the ginger. So you can really smell the ginger in the shallots. The fragrance of both of them really come together. Next thing I'm going to add is cardamom. And I'll go over like all the nutrients, or not the nutrients, the health benefits of all the things that we're using today in our recipe, because there's a lot of crossover with the spices and the black rice as far as health benefits are concerned. So we're going to kind of pull out, I don't know, what am I doing here? The cardamom is a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to do a heaping 1/4. I love the flavor of cardamom. So this is more of a preference thing for you. So if you're into the flavor of cardamom, put a little more in. If you're not, put a little less in. But cardamom is pretty much a combination, or kind of like a, yeah, it is a combination, I believe, of like cumin and cinnamon. So if you smell it, that's what you'll smell. So my shallots are starting to caramelize, as is my ginger. So I'm going to put my cardamom in, and just a heaping teaspoon, or 1/4 of a teaspoon, sorry. I'm going to use that again, so I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to mix it all up. You'll start to smell the cardamom really come through. A minute or two. It smells so good. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is add the rice, and then about 1.5 cups of stock. I'm using vegetable stock. You can use chicken stock, whatever works for you. So we're going to do 1.5 cups. I'm going to get it measured. I'm going to throw my rice in there. Okay, I'm going to throw my rice in here. I am going to give it one quick stir to get the ginger kind of almost toasting to the rice. And then I'm going to add the stock. You could use water. So if you don't have stock, use water. All right, there we go. That's done. This in here. Nice stir. I'm going to scrape all the yumminess off the bottom of the pan. And then come on over to here. Good. I am now going to bring it to a boil. So it's going to sit here, come to a boil. And then when it comes to a boil, I'm going to reduce the heat to simmer, and then I'm going to cover it for 30 minutes, and it's going to simmer for 30 minutes, and I'll check it here and there. So I'm going to clean up a little bit while that's coming to a boil. All I'm going to do is get my board clean so I can move on to the next part of our recipe. Here we go. What's so nice now about the kitchen is like my trash is right over to the side here, and it's so easy to kind of maneuver and get it all out of the way. All right. There we go. All right. So I'm going to check this. Again, give it a nice stir. Wait for it to come to a boil, and then reduce. Keep my that off to the side. All right. So while that's kind of working, I'm going to get started on my chicken. And what I want to say about this, I decided tonight to go with chicken only because my husband has had fish for the last 2 nights. But this dish is amazing with salmon. So salmon is a great choice. And with the salmon, you can do it a couple of ways. You could just do traditional like salmon with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper, and grill it, pan sear it, poach it. I mean, not poach it, but bake it, you know, in parchment in the oven. Whatever way you enjoy eating salmon is going to go great with this rice. You could flavor the salmon, maybe do kind of like a soy glazed salmon, which would work really nice with this as well. Shrimp would work really nice with this as well. So, you know, do again, whether it's like a little garlic sauteed shrimp or, you know, more kind of on those Asian flares, go with that. This is now boiling, so I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to look at my clock. So at 6 o'clock, this is kind of going to be taken off of simmer. I'm going to check it about 10 minutes into it and then go from there. Just because I've cut the recipe in half, because the recipe you have is for 4. But typically I do it for 8. So I am going to check it a little bit before 30 minutes. So now I'm going to get my chicken ready. I have a grill pan here to the side. I'm going to turn my grill pan on, and I'm going to turn it on kind of a between medium, low and high simmer. I just want to get it hot, but I'm going to get the marinade ready for my my chicken. And I need a bowl, which I have right here. I'm going to put everything in here, and a bowl to marinate. I'm sorry. So let's put it in this bowl for marinating. Okay, so I'm going to get the marinade ready for my bowl, for my chicken. I'm going to put this over to the side. So here I have coriander seed and I have cumin seed. Look, if you don't have these, just substitute the ground coriander, ground cumin seed for it. You can go online and look at what the conversion is. Just say, you know, 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander equals how much dry. So if you don't have these on hand, but you do have dried on hand, go for that. So we're going to start with 1/4 teaspoon of coriander seed. I'm going to put it in my little bowl here. And then, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin seed. All right. And then 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin. Cumin is so good. I'm always like, I'm a huge cumin person, so I always add a little more just because that's my favorite seasoning in a lot of different things. So now we're going back to the ginger. Ooh, lost my ginger. Let's see. I know I had the ginger. Did I put it away? Give me a second. I need to grab more ginger. All right, I've got the ginger. And now I'm going to use another tablespoon of ginger. So I'm just going to get this to the point where I have like a nice chunk of ginger. I'm going to peel it. And if you were using the frozen, you would just use 3 cubes of the frozen, because the little, the frozen ginger, each cube is about 1 teaspoon of ginger. All right, so it's nice and peeled. I'm going to grate it just because it's just going to be quicker. So we're going to grate the ginger. And all we're doing is creating a marinade for the chicken. It's going to marinate for about a half an hour while the rice is cooking. All right. Get this out of the microplane. There we go. And I'm going to add this to the mixture. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take now the back of a muddler. Okay. So this muddler, I'm just going to go in and press it down and crack the cumin and the coriander seeds. So you just want to kind of get them so that they're cracked open to release the flavors of those spices. And then once that's done, goes into the sink. We're done with the muddler. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna put the cumin, the ginger, we're gonna get a little bit of cilantro. And I'm gonna mince the cilantro. And with cilantro, I use the stems and the leaves. So I'm gonna mince this as well. I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons. And again, this is, I like cilantro, so I go a little heavier on the cilantro. It's just a personal preference. And I'm gonna put this in here. Here we go. Next is, let's see. I'm eliminating the jalapeno today just because my husband is not a big jalapeno person. He doesn't like a whole lot of heat or a whole lot of spice. So that's why I say it's optional. If you like more spice, add it. And if you don't, just back off. So now I'm going to do some lime zest. But oops, I didn't wash that one. I washed these 2. So for this one, I'm just going to roll it because I'm also going to juice this. And then I'm going to grab my microplane. I'm going to zest half of this lime. That goes in there. And then I'm going to get a 1/4 cup of juice. So I have my juicer. If you want to measure it, measure it. Typically, a 1/4 cup is about 2 tablespoons. If I get a lot of juice out of the lime, I'll probably use 1 lime. Otherwise, I'll use a 1.5 limes. And this one is, I'm getting a decent amount of juice. So I don't need more than that. I probably have a good 1/4 cup in here. And then there we go. All right. So I'm just going to take a spoon. I'm going to mix all this up for now. I'm going to add some avocado oil. I believe this goes in now, right? About 2 tablespoons, I believe, or a tablespoon. Avocado oil, salt and pepper. Some ground pepper. And then we're going to give this a nice little whisk to incorporate the olive oil. And I'm going to get it into this bigger bowl. Normally I do it in like a pan, more of a flatter pan, but to kind of marinate, but I'm just going to marinate everything in this bowl here. Probably should have just done everything in the bigger bowl. So I have here thinly sliced organic chicken breast. It's a pound. So this will feed 4 people, right? 4 ounces per person is about a serving. And this actually is 4 like pieces of chicken. That doesn't happen all the time, but it did today. So I'm just going to put it in here and just get it nice and coated. Get all the seasoning in here, coated on the chicken. I chose this recipe because I want you guys to see, we made this Thai chicken, Thai grilled chicken, maybe about a year ago, but I want you to see how we can like take these recipes and or recipes that I've given you in the past and use them with different flavor profiles. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this off to the side. Give me 20 seconds. I'm going to go wash my chicken laden hands. But it's always fun to go back and look at recipes that we've made in the past and use them in other recipes, right? So the Thai chicken is one of my favorites. You can use it with shrimp. You can use it, this marinade, you can use it on fish. You could use it on tofu or tempeh if you're vegetarian. So it's just a really good option as far as a marinade for protein. Okay. All right. So we've got the chicken marinating. It's going to marinate for about 30 minutes. A lot of times when we use like an acid like lemon or lime, it will kind of cook, almost start to cook the chicken. So for me, I don't like to marinate it for more than a half an hour. Otherwise, it kind of cooks the chicken like it would like ceviche. All right, again, I'm going to get this all cleaned up. I'm going to check my rice, see what that looks like. And then we're going to move on to talking about black rice and why I chose black rice today for the Pink House Cooking Kitchen. Okay, there we go. Beauty of a board, you flip it over and now it's clean. All right, so black rice, why black rice? And it's called forbidden rice, and it's called forbidden rice for a reason. So way back when in China and Asia, this rice was saved for the elite, right? This rice was not available to the general population. So it was a very coveted rice for a lot of good reasons. There are so many health benefits to black rice. So black rice is very rich in amino acids. So it's not like a complete amino, but it has 18 of the essential amino acids in it. So it's a much better option as opposed to brown rice, okay? It is also very rich in anthocyanins. I can never say these words correctly. So if you're familiar with like blueberries, right? And the blue purple kind of food group, the pigments in those are very rich in the anthocyanins. And what that does is it helps protect our cells against damage. Okay. Those properties exist again in black rice. They're also very rich in antioxidants, which again ties into the anthocyanins. It's a natural detoxifier, so it helps to cleanse the body of free radicals. Black rice is higher in protein than other rices. So it's got 5 grams of protein in a serving, which is a half a cup of cooked rice. And it's also higher in fiber. So you're getting 3 grams of fiber per serving. So in a half a cup of cooked. When you're choosing black rice, you're better off choosing long grain over short grain. And the reason is this, and I think with any rice, it's kind of the same thought process. The longer the grain, the lower the starch content. So the lower the carbohydrates, right? So if you can find it, you want the long grain. I bought mine just because I was lazy in Whole Foods. So I paid a little more for it, but Walmart carries it. You can get it on Amazon. You can, if you're a Thrive marketer, you can get it on Thrive Market. I've seen it in Target as well. So it's out there. I have not seen it in Harris Teeter. That would be my only thing. And that's just the Harris Teeter by me, but I do know that Harris Teeter does carry it. So this is the package that I bought. It's Lotus. It's organic. And it has the flavor profile more of like a brown rice. So it does have that nuttier flavor. So that's like my spiel on forbidden rice. Anybody have any questions? Very good. All right, I'm going to check the rice. It's been about 15 minutes, and just because I cut the recipe in half, I'm just going to check it to see. So you're going to cook it until the liquid is absorbed. So it'll be somewhere in the realm of like 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'll talk about kind of what to serve with this. So what I like to do a lot of times is I always call it my kitchen sink salad. So it's whatever I have left in the refrigerator. We're getting towards the weekend. I know we're not going to be home for like the whole weekend. So whatever's in the fridge, I'll just pull it out, whatever's left over in the cucumber, or like I had some Brussels sprouts in there. So I took some Brussels sprouts and red cabbage and whatever I have, I just chop it up and put it in a bowl. And then I'll throw I won't throw a bunch, but then I'll season it with just typically either some lemon juice or lime juice, a tiny bit of olive oil, and then seasonings. So that's what I did with this. So I'll tell you what I had here. I had some kale. So I chopped up some kale. I had some red cabbage. I had some red onion. I had cucumber. I had tomato. I also had some leftover chickpeas. So I just threw that into a bowl. I had some mint. So any herbs that you have as well. I had some mint left over. I chopped up the mint. I threw that in there. And I just mixed it all up. And I made like a simple lime vinaigrette, right? So just a little lime juice, a tiny bit of honey, salt, pepper, and some olive oil. And I mixed it all up. And I do have some of my favorites, like microgreens. So I'll add a little bit of that to it as well, just to give it. And I like to put it on top so it looks like kind of cute. So I'll serve this with it. Serve whatever vegetable you're into. This isn't the prettiest of colors, right? Because you have black rice and then you have chicken. It's really pretty with salmon. Salmon really pops against it. But you do want to serve a vegetable with it. And I'm leaving that up to you guys. So whatever vegetable you're into, that's what you use. I think a nice little like glazed carrot would pair nice with this with, again, maybe a little bit of a mint profile in there would be very nice and refreshing. Okay, so I'm going to do one more check of the rice. And it's getting close. I've got a decent amount of heat on my pan. I'm just going to turn it up to medium now. And then I'm going to grill inside, but I am going to turn this on so that I don't have a lot of smoke build up in the house. So I'm going to let the pan get nice and hot, and you can feel it. You can do this in a grill pan, or you can do this outside on a grill, or you can do it on a saute pan and just kind of like, you know, just get it nice and good and browned. I'm going to give my chicken a little turn so that all these yummy herbs get all over it. And then it sits, and then you can see, like, if you do this at home, you'll see the chicken almost start to turn a little bit opaque in some areas, and that's the lime juice almost cooking the chicken. All right. I am going to brush my grill pan because it's been a while with a little bit of avocado oil, and I'm going to use avocado oil just because that's what I put in here. So I'm going to put a little bit in here, just a dollop. Oh, I found the ginger that I was looking for earlier. It was hiding. So I'm just going to brush my grill pan just to help the chicken and keep it from really sticking. All right. We're doing pretty good here, huh? Time-wise. All right.
Yeah, we're doing great on time.
I know.
I wish I could smell it.
I wish you could too. It smells so good.
I bet it does.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I'm going to put my chicken on the grill pan, and I'm not going to touch it. Once it's on here, I don't know if you can hear the sizzle. I'm going to let it sit there, right? Until it releases on its own. Get a good amount of those. And then I'm just going to kind of pour a little bit of this on here just to get more of the herbs and everything to kind of get on the chicken. Super yummy. Put that in the sink. Get myself a little resting plate. And it's going to start to cook. So I'm going to leave it on here for about maybe 5 minutes, and then I'll check to see if it's releasing naturally. If it's not releasing, it's not ready to turn. Okay. Rice is coming along nice and good. I do wish you guys can smell this because it smells delicious. I'm going to take this off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my garnish ready for my rice. And here, this is my little plate for my dinner. I like to use smaller plates only because when you talk about serving sizes, if you use a large plate, everybody feels the need to kind of fill it. So with my salad, right, this is probably, and you could do more than a salad, right? But I use this smaller plate because I'll have a half a cup of rice here and then my chicken breast, and it'll feel like a full plate. Whereas if I use the big plate, it doesn't feel like a lot of food, right? So it's kind of like a psychological thing. So I am just gonna kind of get my I'm going to use a new knife because that one touched chicken. I'm just going to cut my green onions. I'm just going to cut them into little slivers. I like to cut them on a diagonal so that they have kind of like a pretty look to them. I don't know that you can see that, but so you kind of cut it on a diagonal so it's not round. It looks more like a oval kind of diamond look. I'm only going to use the green parts for this. And then what am I going to do with the whites? I'm going to put them back in my water because this is going to sprout and grow a whole nother green onion. I'm going to move this to the side. So this is ready to go. I'm going to grab my tongs and just check and see whether the chicken's ready to release. It still has it's a little sticky in places, so I'm just going to kind of leave it, let it get a good little caramelization on the bottom, and then we'll turn it over. And then I'm also going to check my rice one more time. Maybe a few more minutes on the rice. We'll go. All right, somebody needs to ask a question because we've got a few minutes with nothing to do. Anybody have any questions?
Laura, is
Uh-huh.
there an advantage over using the fresh ginger over the, we've gotten used to using those frozen cubes. They're easier, but are there other reasons not to use those?
Well, my only thing, the fresh ginger is going to have a little more potent ginger
Taste, okay.
flavor tones to it. So a lot of times, like even with the garlic, so if a recipe would call for like 3 cloves of garlic, with the frozen, I might add in 4. So I would kind of do the same thing with the ginger. So if I were using, this said a tablespoon of ginger, I might have done 4 of the little cubes as opposed to 3, because 3 of the cubes would equal a tablespoon. So I might have thrown an extra one in there just to get that ginger flavor profile. Like if you smell them next to each other, Adrian, so that's like take one out and let it thaw, and then get a piece of ginger and cut it open.
Okay.
Smell the fresh and then smell the frozen. This is just going to have a little more of an intense smell to it than the frozen would. But I'm all for like what's easy. I just happen to have the fresh ginger from something else that I made, and I'm trying to use stuff up that I have in my fridge so it's not wasteful. I also have the frozen in there, so the only reason why I used the fresh today was because I had it.
And I was thinking more of the fact that if I didn't have fresh ginger, would that make a big difference in the meal? If I just.
Yeah. I think so. So these are ready to turn. They've got nice grill marks on here. I do have like a small, one of the chicken breasts is a lot smaller than the other 3. So that one is probably going to come off before the others. So here they're kind of searing over on this side. I'm just going to check how much liquid is left in the rice, because I do want to turn it off and let it steam for a little bit. So I'm going to turn this off. So good. I mean, I'm like really excited for you guys to try this. Black rice is a little more expensive than traditional rice, but it's worth it. All right. So this is just going to steam for a little. This is going to finish cooking. I'll let it rest. I'll cut it up and then we'll plate. Sound like a plan? Good. All right. Again, this side, they have great grill marks. It'll be 3 to 4 minutes. So if you try to pull or lift it, don't force it. If you feel like a little resistance against the, the pan, It's not ready to turn. It's cooked and ready to turn once it releases. Once it releases easily, I guess I should say. Here we go.
Laura, do you have, what temperature do you have that cooking on?
I have it cooking on medium.
Okay. And is the pan
On a
not
gas.
thick pan?
It is it's a cast iron ceramic pan. So something that would be like a sur la table. Martha
Okay.
Stewart makes it.
Mhm.
La Crusade makes one. Staub makes one. I would go with the most inexpensive one. I use typically Martha Stewart, and it's perfect. The only thing with this is you need to clean it properly. So because this is cast iron on the top, as far as like a cleaning perspective, you let it cool. You're gonna scrape any of the pieces of food off of it, give it a good wash. When it's done being washed, it goes onto the cooktop or into the oven. You want to make sure you get all the moisture out of the pan. So you're going to get it good and hot until all the moisture comes out of the pan so that it doesn't rust. That's the only thing. So like any cast iron pan, you would treat it the same. The only thing I like about the ceramic ones is that, you know, a lot of times you get the rust on the top and the bottom. This one, you know, you really just have to worry about the top, and it's easier to clean, I think, personally. So here we go. I'm going to check this now. See? All right, this one released nicely. It's done. This one did. I'm going to turn this. I want a little more caramelization on there. I'm going to give this one another second because a little piece stuck. So maybe about 30 seconds. And what's great about this too is I can kind of turn it off and it's still going to cook for a few seconds because this pan stays good and hot. All right, and then I'm just going to show you, it's got some nice caramelization on it, some nice grill marks, so you can see that. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let it rest for a few minutes. My rice is still steaming for the next few minutes. And then I could get fancy, so let's see if it's going to work. Let's see if the fanciness works. Give me a second. I'm going to grab a mold, a ring mold. But I need to get a step stool to get up and get my ring molds. I'm just saying, like, if it's a date night with your husband, sometimes it's fun to do stuff like this, right? So let's see. So I have this ring mold, right? This is back from my pastry days. So I'm going to put my ring mold on my plate. And what I'm going to do is put a half a cup of rice in there and tap it down. And let's see if it holds. But what I am going to do is just, I know I had some, I'm going to take that. I am going to take this, just my brush with the avocado oil so it doesn't stick. And I'm going to brush the inside just to make sure it releases. And then I'm going to wipe it out a little bit because I don't want a ton of extra oil in there, although it's not going to be a bunch. Smooth it out. Just kind of pat it so it's lightly oiled. So let's slide all of this off to the side. All right. The rice looks so good and it smells so good. So I'm just going to fluff this, not with that fork, with a new fork. I'm going to fluff it up. Another fun thing would be like if you weren't into like doing like extra vegetables, towards the end, you can get a bag of like frozen peas and carrots and throw that in there. And then your vegetables are mixed in with your rice. And then maybe I would take 3/4 of a cup, or even, you know, if you put more vegetables in there, you could do a cup of that and have that on the side. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the smaller of the one. Yeah, I'm going to take the smaller. And I'm going to cut this on a bias, kind of against the grain. So I'm going to see which way the grain is going. I'm just going to cut it into slivers. All right. This is probably a little smaller than a serving size. I'm going to get a spoon. I'm going to put about a 1/2 cup of rice in here. So this mold is about a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to take it probably about 3/4 of the way up. I'll press it down. I'll come back over. Just going to kind of tamp it down a little bit. I think it might work. I hope it works. All right. I'll wipe off the plate. Let's lift and see. Ooh, how pretty. I'm going to take this and kind of arrange it this way. Put my little, I'm going to take my salad over to the side. My hands are nice and dirty. Take a few scallions over the top. Maybe, if I wanted to, just a few microgreens off to the side. And there you go. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll turn side. Can you see it? Nice.
I can.
There you go.
That looks really pretty. I like the colors.
Dinner
It's
is ready.
beautiful. Yeah. So if you could imagine just the like salmon, right? Like a piece of salmon, and you could even do like a flatter cake and let the salmon, you can put the salmon, flake it and put it on top. You can do bowls with this. So what I do with leftover rice, like this rice, so there will be leftover rice, right? Because it's only my husband and I, kind of like my kitchen sink salad. So what I have left over in this salad, again, you're getting 5 grams and a 1/2 cup of protein, and you're getting 3 grams of fiber, plus all the antioxidants and the flavonoids that are in there, and the amino acids, and what are the other ones? I got to look at my notes, the anthocyanins. You're getting that into your salad, and it makes your salad a little heartier and is going to keep you fuller. So this I would save. I might even freeze it and throw it into my kitchen sink salads. So there you go. So what do you guys think? So I know I made a big mess today. So there you go. You have your dinner.
I think it looks great.
Good. I'm going to,
Yeah.
this is like, I love
I
this
would-
rice. It's so good. Just my husband and I, so I can put my spoon in there again. Just the flavor of the cumin and the cardamom. And cardamom has a lot of the same antioxidants that the black rice does. So it's just kind of layering all of those, and the ginger, right? Those flavor profiles, and just getting as much of those antioxidants and those nutrients that you can get from foods to kind of help heal your body and keep your body strong and fuel your body. So there you go. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you, Laura. That looks good. I would like to try that.
It's delicious. And like you saw what I did with the ring molds, you could do that with, I mean, this is kind of tall, right? But you've seen, I don't think I have them anymore. I don't. But like those little Cornell bowls, right? That are
Yeah.
a little flatter. You could press it into that and invert it onto a plate. Like if you wanted to kind of like have, like I said, a date night with your husband or something along those lines and make like a really pretty fun dish like this, right? I would do that. And then you could even like take some, like to add a little burst of color, maybe just like chop up like slivers of, I don't know, some like red or yellow or orange peppers, which would be really nice with this too, or saute them a little bit and then layer them over the top of the rice or over the top of the chicken or shrimp or salmon. So all of that's going to work together.